Hi again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of RVBusiness Capital Talk, sponsored by the Dicor Corporation. I'm Rick Kessler. With me, as always, Sherm and Goldenberg. And joining the two of us today is Jon Krider. Jon, of course, is with Thor Motorcoach. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Product Development. Jon, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you two.
One thing I might point out is savvy viewers will notice that Sherman and I are not in our usual spots. We're happen to be at the RVMH Hall of Fame, so they're gracious enough to let us use their Wi-Fi for the afternoon. So, Jon, let's talk about Thor Motorcoach and maybe even Class Bs in particular.
Sure. Yeah, no, Thor Motorcoach. You know, we've been on a run for the last couple of years as far as B vans go, and as you reminded me earlier, Rick, that about 4 years ago, you said, "Hey, Jon Krider, why is Thor Motorcoach not in B vans?" And at that time, I said, "Well, we have a B van manufacturer. It's Airstream." And then, of course, here I am to eat my words a little bit in a good way, because at that time, you know, when the market was, you know, less than 3,000 units a year, when we looked at our overall portfolio of products and our strategy of how we wanted to grow the business, you know, B vans were questionable. You know, it was questionable whether B vans were really going to be viable. You know, there weren't a lot of players in it. A few of the manufacturers that were in it really kind of owned that market share. And it was really all based around that long wheelbase Mercedes-Benz chassis. And everybody did the same thing. And, you know, obviously, when Thor Industries was making some investments for the long-term future, you know, one of the B van manufacturers that had a lot of market share at that time was no longer going to be in the business. And we looked at that opportunity and said, okay, here is what the business is today. We'd already start to see signals of growth happening in that B van market. We still weren't 100% sure that's where we wanted to go. But then there was kind of that impetus, or there was that little flame that opened up, and they said, "Hey, this could be something that could be big." And who better to make the biggest splash than the company that's the most innovative, the largest, and the one that can get it to market the fastest in Thor Motorcoach. And so we took the plunge and we introduced the Sequence and Tellaro and jumped right into that Ram 3500 ProMaster van.
What year was that?
I believe that was 2019, wasn't it, Rick?
Sounds about right. Yeah,
I think it was 2019. And then, of course, as we rolled into the pandemic, we all saw what happened in the market in the pandemic and how the RV industry thrived during that time frame. And as we looked at everything, we made the two vans we started with, and since then we've added to the product mix. So, and that's based on what we were getting as far as consumer feedback, dealer feedback, where we were seeing other things in the market that were indicators of how this market might grow. All those things came into play, and that's how we ended up kind of, where we are today. And then it's even pushing us past today and showing us what our future is going to look like in 23, 24, and 25.
Rick, good, big picture. The Class Bs you were telling me a little earlier certainly are stepping it up here.
Well, the one thing, yeah, they are in a big way. Matter of fact, year to date through August for retail registrations, they're the only segment that's has a year-over-year increase as far as retail sales, but not just an increase, 28%, just over 28%. Jon, I'm just curious why you think those have seemed to just landed so well with the RV consumer.
Well, I think the van consumer and the RV consumer are a little bit different. So while we all make traditional RVs, or a lot of companies make traditional RVs, there's also the van part of it. And so the vans, I think, have a couple of things. First of all, vans seem to be a segment of the market that is very open to innovation. Okay, vans are the first one to say, yes, give me lithium batteries. Vans are the first one to say, yes, let's be very, very creative with all of our storage space. Let's make every nook and cranny fit. Vans also were those things that weren't intimidating to people. So it wasn't like a big Class A or even a Class C. It looked and felt maybe more like that Suburban or that Tahoe or that Escalade somebody was driving. So it really fit a lot of people's lifestyle. So you have the traditional RVers that maybe were coming out of a bigger coach, getting into a smaller one, maybe just wanted a different variety. But then you have a lot of new buyers that said, hey, this, if I want to do this lifestyle, I don't want it to necessarily interrupt what my current lifestyle is. And so where they may not camp every single night, they might like Airbnb one night and camp another night. Or they really look at those destinations where it's not so much going to campgrounds. It's really just going out and being part of nature and kind of being part of the environment and what's going on around you. And so we've seen a lot of those people that have migrated, especially during COVID, when a lot of people, especially like in Silicon Valley, people that work at the big tech companies, they weren't allowed to go to the office. They had to work remote. Well, for these people whose kids weren't in school and could do remote learning and all that, you had a lot of younger buyers, Gen X, Gen Z, that said, this is something that we can go do and we can enjoy ourselves. We can be away from the crowds. We can resist being around COVID and start a new lifestyle.
Where do you sit? Does Thor Motorcoach sit in this B-van market with regard to your competitors?
Well, I think if you look at the overall in numbers, I think, Rick, if you look, I would probably say that we rank as number 2 in overall retail sales. We have an expectation that we'll be doing like most other segments. If you look at Class A motorhomes, look at Class C motorhomes. We've been a pretty large part of those segments, and the B-van is no different. We expect to continue to grow our market share, continue to support our dealers, continue to build loyal customer base, and move up hopefully to that top spot. Because obviously, if you're not number 1, then the view is always the same. Isn't that the saying?
I was going to ask you for a rundown of your B-vans, but there's a bit of a slideshow going on behind you. No, we do want you to give us a rundown.
Yeah, a quick tour of your brands.
Yeah, so we have the products that we have kind of dual versions of everything, and so we start off with we're about the only one in the market that's building a 1500 series Ram ProMaster van. So that's a shorter wheelbase, a considerably more compact coach. So that's about 17 and a half, 18 feet of total length. And so that is really, that's really been exciting for a lot of people that are single, that like to use the vehicles. Maybe it's only going to be a couple and that's all they're going to be all the time, or they really have some space restrictions with an HOA or where they can park the vehicle. Then from there, and of course that's at a lower price point. And then from there, we move into 2 different sets of Ram 3500 ProMaster vans. So the 3500 gives us more interior space, gives us a little more livability. It gives us the ability to do more things with more floor plan options. So the new Dazzle and Twist, which the Twist right here, interior right behind me, we just introduced that at our open house, and it's been a really good product. The reason that people like it is because it is a very cost-sensitive coach for a 3500 van. It gives you all the goodies. It gives you the generator. It gives you options for pop-top tops. It gives you, the different colors. It gives you all the safety features inside the van, but at a lower price point for that 3500 series van. And then if you move up to our Sequence and Tellaro, which are also on the Ram, that is just a higher level of luxury. So you're getting some upgrades as far as your cabinets go. Your electrical system moves to our reliable power pack system, which is our lithium batteries. So rely on a master volt battery systems. You've also got, doing a partnership with Balmar on the alternator side and doing a lot of things there as far as increasing technology. BM Pro is a big partner of ours in our entire B-van product, which has really been a successful partnership. And then we go from there, and then we move into the Sanctuary and Tranquility, which that's kind of the way that we've introduced that is it's kind of like what we do on Forwinds and Chateau Class Cs, that you can get a Ford version or a Mercedes version. Are you a blue oval guy, or are you a shiny star guy? Whether a guy or gal, excuse me there. So, Mercedes or Ford. So you can now get the Sanctuary and Tranquility on a Ford Transit chassis, which is the all-wheel drive chassis. And really what we find there's some people that just don't want diesel. There are some people that don't want to deal with DEF. There's some people that just, want to have something that's gasoline. They feel good servicing it. They don't have any issues there. So the Ford Transit, all-wheel drive, great off-road, on-road capability, perfect driving manners. And then the Mercedes, the nice thing there is that we offer it in a 4x4, so you get that off-road ruggedness. But we've also started to offer it in a 4x2 version, or rear-wheel drive version. So the Mercedes platform has an excellent rear-wheel drive platform. And for those people that are more on-road than they are off-road, or at least rugged off-road, the rear-wheel drive is a great product that gives you all the features on the inside, but then reduces some of your maintenance costs, reduces some of the weight of the vehicle to give you a little more cargo carrying capacity. Also, there's just less things on it. And some people they don't care about four-wheel drive. They're just perfectly fine that their trips include asphalt and concrete, not so much rock and sand.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I'm just curious, on the B van platform, are the chassis issues mostly behind us now? Availability, that is?
I would say availability is getting much better all the time. I would say that Mercedes and Ram with Stellantis with the Ram, and then Ford on their Transit, availability is getting better. What we still are running into is we are still running into some areas where options on the van become limited. So, there's each one of the manufacturers is dealing with their own internal supply chain opportunities. And, we find that a lot of times we'll have something come to us, and unfortunately, a particular option may not be available at the time of build, or this option may not be available at time of build. I don't think at this point anything has been like it just stops you and you can't build on the vehicle or people don't want it. It's just little nuances that are probably more annoying or anything, because it just requires so many SKUs to keep track of every single change in the product.
Right, as we were also discussing before we got on live here, you're not the only Thor division at this point that's in the B van market.
Correct.
Touch on that real quickly for us.
Well, I mean, all of the Thor different subsidiaries that do motorhomes, I believe at this time, are in that market. So, our sister companies, Airstream and Tiffin and Jayco, they all have entrance into the B van market. I like to say outside of Airstream that, Thor Motorcoach is the one that really got the ball moving inside of the Thor Industries companies. Now, those guys might disagree with you, but, I might be a little biased. But I think that every company has some unique, products in the market. And what I think is that, when you look at Thor Industries overall, there's a lot of variety that can be offered through Thor Industries.
We look at the future, where things are headed, and at the same time, we also look at the integration of European influences in this B van market. Mm-hmm. In Thor in particular, with straddles the two continents.
Sure.
Where do you see this whole thing going? This kind of a product, to the extent that you can tell us.
Well, I mean, I think the product, and like I said earlier, B van is very innovative because you got to work with a really small space, and so we've all looked at what's out there in the market, and coming forward. I definitely believe that electrified RVs are out there somewhere. They're somewhere down the road. And I think there's going to be different levels of electrification. I think there is an idea that, the car companies are all going after this. Hey, we just need to go straight EV. And I'm not so sure if motorhomes will just be straight to EV. I think there could be a couple of plateaus that we get to. I mean, we all are going to be working through as an industry. What does this new solar requirement for small engines in California and Oregon look like for 2024? So, Onan is doing a really good job of trying to address that and get out there. I think that in B vans specifically, you see a lot of lithium batteries that are being used and alternative ways to power the coach. I know Thor Industries has made some strategic investments as far as the announcements they've made as far as just yesterday about dealing with an EV chassis manufacturer that looks very, very exciting to me, being in the motorhome business. And then, of course, some of the things that Thor Industries have shown from electrification, from the trailer that was designed that everybody saw at Open House to the motorhome that they showed earlier in the year at Tampa. And then the investment, like even with the Dragonfly batteries that Thor has made, where we see Thor making some real strategic investments into the future that are going to help every one of the subsidiaries under the Thor nameplate to increase our success level and be the leader in innovation for the market.
Very good.
Very, very good interview. I'm thinking maybe you ought to consider running for office.
I am not a crook.
Very good. Very good. Half of our audience will get that reference.
Exactly.
Rick, we're about ready to wrap this. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Apologies. I wanted to also get into some of the Class A and C offerings, but we've really, I think, talked your ear off. Jon, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. I mean, we've all been around this business for a long time, and it's always good to see familiar faces that we've kind of gone through this journey together. And obviously, as the future continues, we look back and see all the great things we've had in the past and how we can build off of that. And so, I look forward to the next time we get together and we talk about what is the next thing that the industry is doing and how is Thor Industries and specifically Thor Motorcoach going to support that.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you very much. Well, we really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys.